Working the night shift always sucked. I work in an office building and would constantly do the night shifts. I was just about the only person on the floor I worked on, possibly in the whole building. There would always be a kind of eerie feeling to being in such a big building with most of the lights out and absolutely no one around. But on the upside, it was quiet and less stressful, and I was able to get a lot of work done. There was this one night, though. It was a Friday night around 2 in the morning. I was typing away at my keyboard when I heard a noise from outside my cubicle. It sounded like just a random crack from the walls or something like that. It's unusual in this building as it's in good shape, but I didn't get too concerned about it. I resumed typing away and was once again interrupted by a sound. This time it was the sound of a computer starting up. It caught me off guard. I was absolutely sure no one else was working the night shift. I stood up on my chair to get a view over the cubicle walls, and the glare of a computer screen in the dark was visible in a cubicle on the opposite side of the room. Then I did something stupid. Something I regret. I asked if there was anyone there in a yell, hoping to get an answer from a fellow employee, but instead, I saw the glaring light of the computer monitor turn off, and there was once again nothing but darkness on that side of the room. I started getting nervous. I turned off the lamp and computer screen so I wouldn't give away my position to whoever that was. I crouched down and tiptoed out across to a nearby cubicle. There was just utter silence. I sat there, waiting for something to happen. For what seemed like forever, but I eventually decided the coast was clear. I tiptoed down past all the cubicles until an opening near the exit door to the stairs and elevator. And that's when I realized that my fearful suspicion was true. There was a man crouched down behind a plant in the corner of the room, dressed in all black. I felt my heart sink as I noticed him, but it didn't seem like he knew that I saw him there. I turned back to the stairway door. There was no way I was going to wait for the elevator and take a chance. I casually opened the door and closed it behind me, proceeding to walk down the stairs. After making it down about 2 flights of stairs, I heard the door above me push open aggressively, followed by manic, echoing footsteps, coming fast down the stairs. I raced down the stairs, running as fast as I could, as the footsteps above me were getting louder. I finally made it to the first floor, raced through the lobby, and out the front door. Whoever was in there didn't follow me. I immediately called the cops, along with one of my bosses. My boss said that no one was scheduled to work except for me. The cops scanned the place from top to bottom. There was no one in there. I couldn't help them out with any description other that he was wearing all black. I did continue to do the night shift for about a week after that, with my boss allowing me to lock all possible entrances to the floor, including the elevators. But I still wasn't comfortable with it. So ever since I've been doing the day shifts. I still wonder what that man was doing there and what would have happened if I hadn't got away. This happened 5 years ago, when I was still in high school. I was told to do my last delivery of my shift. I got in my car, which was a 1998 Civic, perfect for delivering pizzas. I Googled the next address on my phone. I live upstate in the country, so all pizza deliveries were long drives. I remember the sun was starting to set, so it was probably around 7 p.m. I'd say after a good 20 minutes of driving through the dirt back roads, my GPS said I'd arrived. It was an old, little cottage-like house, made almost entirely out of wood. It was sitting all by itself in the middle of absolutely nothing but forest. The lawn was completely overgrown, as the grass was almost at knee-height. I was used to this kind of thing, so I didn't think much of it. I took the pizza to the front door. There was no doorbell, so I knocked loudly on the door. Within a few seconds, I heard the sound of footsteps hitting wood on the inside of the house. The footsteps made it to the door and stopped. I started to feel uneasy. I got the feeling that I was being watched, and that's when I noticed there was a peephole in the door. "It's the pizza guy," I called out. I heard a low, harsh-sounding voice on the other side of the door telling me to bring the pizza out back. I didn't like the idea of going back there. Something didn't seem right. Are you sure, sir?" I called out. He didn't answer my question. The sound of footsteps didn't move away from the door, so I had the feeling he was still watching me. I almost found myself walking back to my car, but I decided I didn't want any trouble with my boss. The last time I brought a pizza back, he gave me attitude. So, I reluctantly walked through the uncut grass and around the small house to the back. I remember there was a shed and a little patio back there. On the patio, there was a table with 4 chairs surrounding it. In one of the chairs, facing away from me, I saw the head of somebody sitting in the seat. I began walking over and said, "Excuse me?" But the person didn't even move an inch. "Excuse me?" I said again, louder. Then from behind me, I heard, "Psst, over here." I turned around to see a man poking his head out from the corner of the house, looking at me with a crazed smile. "Come over here. I want to show you something." I freaked out, turned around, and ran around the house in the opposite direction back to my car, for some reason still holding the pizza. I got in my car, started it, and got away from there. On my way back to the pizzeria, I pulled over to the side of the road and called the police. Eventually, I was informed that there was no sign of anybody having been in that house for a long time. I quit my delivery job a few days after that. I have no idea what would have happened had I gone up to that man, but to this day I still wished I had just turned my head to see who or what was sitting in that patio chair. I was only about 15 when this happened, and the dude who was stalking me was a few years older. Let's call him Jim. I used to compete in equestrian events, and Jim's mom was the president of one of the clubs I belonged to. His mom dragged him along to an event one day where he must have seen me and taken a liking to me. I don't remember actually talking to or even meeting him that day, but he took it upon himself to look through the club's membership forms to find my phone number. Jim called me every single day, multiple times for months on end, twice on weekdays and 3 times on weekends. I politely told him that I wasn't interested, but he was convinced that he would make me like him through sheer will alone. I stopped taking his calls after he started threatening to find and beat up any male I happened to mention, be it family, friend, or boyfriend, and he would fly into a rage at the slightest thing. Sometimes he would call just to scream at me about something that happened at school that pissed him off. He started to find out which events I was going to attend by going through the entry forms his mom was sent, and he would show up and follow me around all day demanding to know why I didn't want to date him. He went as far as grabbing me and shaking me when I would try to ignore him, or grabbing at my horse's reins if I was mounted. My mom and I asked Jim's mom to stop bringing him to events as I was starting to get scared, and she accused me of leading him on and acting like I was too good for her son, when I should be considering myself lucky that someone like him would even look twice at someone like me. He eventually stopped when one of my older brothers came to an event and stood over him while telling him to leave me alone. Me and my wife were on our honeymoon in Hawaii. We were on the island of Oahu, sitting on the beach. My wife got up to go to the bathroom, and when she got back, she told me that there was a creepy man watching her walk into the bathroom, and when she tried to walk out, he blocked her path. She only got away because there were 2 other people walking to the bathroom, so he got out of the way. I asked her what the man looked like, and she looked over, but unfortunately he was gone. Our hotel was within walking distance from the beach, so we got back quickly, but we made sure to report the man to a police officer walking near the beach. Then we cleaned up before going out to eat. We ate at a fancy seafood place and did some walking around afterwards. Close to midnight, we finally went back to the room and began to wind down. Then we got a knock at the door. I looked through the peephole in the door and saw a man in a maid uniform standing outside. I opened the door, and he immediately tried to let himself in. I pushed him back a bit, asking him what he wanted. He told me he left something in the room while cleaning earlier, and he needed to get it out. The only thing, we left a Do Not Disturb sign on the door all day. Then I noticed he was making eye contact with my wife. My wife then screamed, "That's the man!" I didn't understand at first, but it was too late for that. The man had already lunged at me, holding my throat with one hand while reaching behind himself with another. He pulled out a knife and started swinging at me. And if it weren't for my wife coming over and smashing his face with a lamp, I would have been as good as dead. The commotion drew out all the tourists of the nearby rooms. One of the women started freaking out and screaming, making the situation even worse. I called the police. So did the hotel. It turned into a huge, horrible scene, but we were just happy to be alive. We were questioned when the police arrived, and some of the people around us claimed to have witnessed it all. We still don't know what kind of intentions this guy had. But if I had to guess, I would say he wanted to get to my wife. He must have been one very dumb person to think he would get away with something like this in a public resort. I used to have a boy living next door, and he was absolutely obsessed with me. His name was Tyler. Every time I would go outside, Tyler would come outside as well, as if he were watching me through his windows, waiting for me. He was 18 and very weird. He didn't seem to have any friends, as he was always home alone. I tried to give every sign possible that I didn't like this guy, but he just wouldn't get the message. So I had to just finally tell him one day that I don't like him and to leave me alone. The look on his face that day is something that will never leave me. It was the kind of angry look a toddler gives to a parent when they can't have a toy. Coming from an 18-year-old boy, it's a lot more disturbing. One night, my parents left me to watch the house. I was working on a school project when I felt my bed shift a little. I looked under my bed and screamed as I saw Tyler laying under my bed. I ran away while he tried to crawl out from under my bed. I sprinted to his house and rang the bell at least 10 times, telling his parents about it. When they opened the door, Tyler never came out of my house. So I called the police. His parents begged me not to, but I ignored them. The police found him still in my room and arrested him. Apparently, he admitted this wasn't the first time he'd hid under my bed. They also found more than 100 pictures of me scattered across his room. The most disturbing one was of me sleeping, and it was taken from inside my room. I never saw Tyler again. His family moved away shortly after that, and I heard Tyler was sent to a boarding school in New Hampshire.